Welcome back and thanks for tuning in. This is The Logic Dilemma, the show where we discuss current events and how sometimes thinking logically can get in the way of our feelings. More on that to come. I'm your host, American Mike, coming to you today from the Purple Mountain Majesties. From sea to shining sea, America the Beautiful. Stick with me, folks. We're going to have some fun. I'm grateful you're here, so I'm not just a weirdo talking to myself. By the way, this is my favorite job. It is. I love this. I do. This is an unedited podcast. Why don't I edit it? Why do I subject myself to such harsh criticism? Because the Logic Dilemma show is adapted from my radio show. Imagine you're listening to me live on the radio. I can't undo live. Anytime I make a mistake, I have to just continue on. Put on a brave face and pretend that I'm not embarrassed. No. Now, the first thing we do before every show is that we explain the Logic Dilemma. Now get ready for the boring discussion parts, but you need to understand why this show exists. Every decision we make in our lives and every idea that we have is based on two things: logic and emotion. And most of the time it's up to us to balance the scales between logic and emotion so that we can make good decisions and so that we can form good opinions of things. It takes both logic and emotion. It's not always going to be balanced the same. Sometimes we use more logic to make a decision or form an opinion. Sometimes we use more emotion to form that opinion. So investing in money is a good example of where we have to use logic, right? So if you're investing your money, you want to say, well, I have to use logic so that my investment isn't a terrible idea. But in order for you to really take that risk and make the big bucks, there is a bit of emotion that needs to take place. So for instance, if you were to, let's say you do all your homework on an investment, you have to be able to say, yes, but I feel like it's going, and you hear this all the time with investors. I feel like this is going to be a really good choice. I feel it. I feel like this is going to be good. That's the emotion part of the decision that you're making. Now, the emotion part, that feeling part of investing, that actually can yield better results. Absolutely can. Now, let's look at a decision based on emotion. Having children. Having children. You and your partner decide, let's have children. Now, I'll be honest with you. I have 4 children of my own. I love them to the ends of the earth. But emotion is what helps us determine whether or not we want to have children. Because I'm going to be honest with you again. Having children isn't necessarily a logical decision. They cost money. You have to take care of them for the rest of your life. In the case of my children, it is the rest of my life. So they take up all of your time. You give up most of your hobbies. Traveling is terrible with children. So if you like to travel, it's not a logical decision to have children. So logically, starting a family and having children isn't actually a good decision from a logical viewpoint. That's where emotion steps in. That's a decision that we make emotionally. You see, we want to say, I want children and I want to have a family because emotionally I want to share that love. It's a very emotional thing. And we make a lot of decisions in our family lives that aren't necessarily logical, but it's emotional because we share an emotional connection with these people. So, family, children, those are more emotional decisions. Whereas your job and life, there's a lot of logic. Now, we make decisions like this every single day, where we're based in logic and emotion. And we can't purely make every decision that we have in life based on logic. We can't. Because if we did that, if we said, oh, hey, I will only make my decisions based on logic, well, then you would never take any risks. You would never get ahead because you would never make that step and use that leap of faith to get you across the finish line. Like I run marathons sometimes. I know it's stupid. I don't even like running. I really don't. But I do it. I don't know why. Anyway, logically, it doesn't make any sense to finish a marathon. I'll tell you, it hurts. And it doesn't make a bit of sense to train as hard as you have to train to run that marathon. But I have done it because emotionally, once you cross that finish line, it is a great experience in your life. Something that you wouldn't have otherwise experienced. That's why we balance logic with emotional decisions. Again, if you had just logical decisions in your life, if you made just those type of decisions, then you wouldn't experience the emotion that comes with some of the some of the great things that happen in our lives. Now, you can't make just emotion-based decisions either. That doesn't work. So let's say you say, oh, well, I'm only going to show emotion when making my decisions. I'm going to base it on emotion only. Well, if you do that, then you'll start to make irrational decisions. That's what emotional decisions become. They become very irrational. There has to be some logic involved. Now, I'm a religious man. I am. I'm a religious man. And I enjoy religion. I enjoy studying all religions. I enjoy becoming a better person in my own religion. But religion is usually an emotionally based decision, right? Well, you would think that. You would think, well, emotion, religion is all emotion. But honestly, the older I get, I find logic in my religious decisions also. Not only am I striving to be a better person, and that's logically, that's a good thing in our lives. But I'm also a scientific person. I love science. And people will tell you that science and religion don't mix. They'll say, "Oh, yeah, if you want to be religious, you can't be a scientific person." And I completely disagree. I do. I disagree. Because even though I'm a religious person and I believe that God created the earth, I believe that science was done to do so. Now, whatever that means for you, that's great. But logically, he had to have used science to create our earth. Now, logically, look at where we are today. Look at our lives. Look at who we are and where we are. I mean, imagine I'm recording something right here that millions of you are listening to right now. Obviously, I'm being facetious there. At least one of you might be listening. I don't know. But here I am recording something that all of you all over the world are listening to. Look at where we are today and where we've come from, scientifically or religiously. Now, the odds of becoming where we are by chance and ending up where we are by chance, the probability of that is too low for me to even entertain. See, logically, to me, it would make sense to me that somebody or something is controlling who we are and what we do. Not necessarily what we do. I take that back. Not what we do. But definitely controlling how we got here. See, the odds of, imagine the odds of us being here today with all the technology that we have and all the relationships that we have, the almost 8 billion people on this planet, the way that we got to where we are today, if that is by chance, it's as though it would have the same probability of you taking a 1,000-piece puzzle, taking the lid off of it, taking all of those pieces, throwing them up in the air, and having them all land in perfect order. That's the same probability of us ending up where we are today without somebody or something helping us get here. Somebody has been putting this puzzle piece and this puzzle together. And whether or not it's done by science, honestly, the older I get, the more logical that sounds. So when we talk about religion, I just want you to know that religion isn't necessarily an emotional decision or emotional thing. Religion can be very logical also. Anyway, enough about religion. I hope this is not a religious talk. So I hope that I haven't lost any of you. Stick with me. I said it before and I'll say it again. We're going to have fun. I just want you to understand what logic and emotion is so that we can discuss our lives and our society from the standpoint of logic and emotion. So, what is the logic dilemma? That's when the logical choice that you need to make in your life doesn't match the emotional choice that you want to make in your life. That's when logic becomes a dilemma to you. Logic becomes a problem. Logically, I should be doing this, or I should be thinking this, but I don't want to. I want to be thinking this over here. Emotionally, I want to be doing this. So what happens is our logic and our emotion don't match. So logic becomes a dilemma. It becomes a problem. We have to be able to reconcile what we want to do and logically what we need to do and what we have to do. That's what this show's about. Let's all come together and talk about what logic and emotion, how that plays into our lives. Now, yes, I will say this show is pretty political because honestly, we are struggling politically in America. We are. We're struggling with making sense of the logic of politics and the emotion of politics. We are not connecting the two very often right now. So that's why this show gravitates toward politics. It really does. Not only because it's funny, because it is, and we are going to have a lot of good laughs, but politically, the atmosphere in America right now is that we really are having a hard time connecting the emotion of politics with the logic of politics. And as we talk about this more, you're going to see exactly what I mean. Now, imagine, because we have our candidate we have an upcoming election. Everybody has their pick of who they want to be for the next president, whether it's the incumbent president who's currently serving, or whether it be one coming up, Donald Trump. We all look at our person. We all make our decisions. And then we say, well, I want this person to be the president. And we understand, I think all of us understand that the person that we choose isn't necessarily going to be the perfect candidate. Everybody knows that. Joe Biden isn't any Democrat or liberal individual out there in America isn't looking at Joe Biden saying he is perfect. I know that. Even if they love him, they're not looking at him as a perfect person. Same thing with Republicans and with Trump supporters. They're not looking at Trump saying, wow, he's perfect. He's a perfect man. No, nobody's doing that. Everybody has flaws. But we're trying to say logically who would be the best person for the job right now. So we tried to explain why Trump would be better or why Biden would be better. But ultimately, we use a lot of emotion in those decisions, don't we? Because there are a lot of times where we say we form opinions on our candidate, on who we want to be in office. And we form those opinions, and once those opinions are formed, we say, well, I'm going to ignore some of the bad things I see from my guy and only focus on the good. And then I'm going to ignore the good from the other guy and only focus on the bad. That we do that a lot. We do that a lot. And it's not logical. It's purely emotional. Because we say, well, my candidate is only good. He only does good. And any bad that I hear about it, I don't believe it. Any bad I hear about my candidate, I don't believe it. Both sides do this. So, I will admit, you may not like to hear this, but I will admit that this show does lean more conservative. It does. I don't mean it to. It's just that, and I say this with all the love in my heart. It's just that Democrats aren't very logical. We're going to talk about it. I don't mean to make you feel bad. If you're a Democrat, please don't feel bad. I've probably lost you already. You turned it off. Don't turn it off. We're all in this together. It's just that it's true that over the years I have seen, in all of the years I've been doing this, in all of the years that I have been focused on studying our country and our politics, and all these years, I have been able to determine that some of the choices that we make aren't logical, but I see it more from the Democrat side. And I've been able to determine that is the difference between a conservative and a liberal. This is my opinion, all right? This is my opinion. I'm not citing any sources here. So if you want to share this, this is from me, American Mike. Conservatives are more logical thinkers, and liberals are more emotional in their thoughts. That's how it works. That's the big difference. A good point, a good case on this would be, so again, if you're a liberal, don't get offended by this. Making decisions based on emotion isn't a bad thing. So here's an example of this. An example would be, well, we want more social programs to help people in need. Okay, that's awesome. That's great. I love that idea. We need a whole bunch of money from our country, and then we're going to take all of that money, and we're going to use it to better the lives of those who have less. That is such a noble thing. And it makes a lot of sense to me. Unfortunately, there is a logical piece of that doesn't work. You see, there's a logical piece of that doesn't work. Number one is that you're trusting that the government will get the money to the correct people. It does not. I can tell you right now, it doesn't. I would love for our government to be good stewards of our money, but they are not. They never have been, and they never will be. So the more money we give to the government, it doesn't mean that's more money in the pockets of the people who need it. That's problem number one. And I maybe what we'll do is, we've done this before, but what we'll do is in future shows, we'll talk about the American government's usage of our money and stewardship over our money. We'll talk about it. It's hilarious. We see these bills that they pass, hundreds of billions here and hundreds of billions there. It's as though we don't even know or care how many zeros are on That money comes from our pockets, by the way. It does. So every time you see these bills, oh, we have a new spending bill. That money comes from our pocket. Anyway, back to our example. Number one, the government is not good at getting money down to the people who need it. It is filtered down through so many organizations and put in so many different pockets. And there are so many different managing managers in the government hierarchy of employees that everybody gets their share and they get paid all the way down. They honestly, we have seen cases where we have entire teams of people making good wages, all of them making good wages, and their whole purpose is to watch over a team of people who watch over a different team of people who are watching over the original team of people. I'm not joking. They have managerial cycles where everybody's just managing everybody and it comes right back around to the person that's managing that person. See, that's what I'm talking about. All of that is just wasted money. And the more money we give the federal government, the more we see that. Now, that sounds a little crazy, I know, but it sounds a little conspiracy. I got to tell you, we will talk a little bit about conspiracy theories here. I actually think they're funny. Some of them aren't. And but I think conspiracy theories are kind of fun. But anyway, we're coming up on the bottom of the hour. I do want to share some of our sponsors. I love our sponsors. They are great. One of them, Cycle.host. They are our biggest sponsor, and they are amazing. They're a cloud hosting provider that you can take your entire team of developers and create software in a fraction of the time, because Cycle.host assumes a lot of the decisions that you make with your development strategies and building websites, building software, and they assume a lot of those decisions and they make those choices for you so that in the end, instead of setting up your environment and taking 3-4 weeks to do that, your development team is ready to start developing software in about 30 seconds, as opposed to the 4 weeks it takes to set up your environment. I think it's been awesome for us. I use it. It's been awesome for us. I have a lot of different businesses that all I do is I go on to cycle.host, I type in my domain or a domain that I wish to have, and I'm ready to start developing. I'm ready to hand it off to developers, and they're creating software immediately. Everything from all of the identity login information to API information to secure certificates, all of it is ready to go in 30 seconds. So your development team can focus on innovation. That's it. They are focused on innovation and not the integration of building your entire environment. It is awesome. Cycle.host is the website. We also want to shout out to a new sponsor that we have, Take Back Our Lives. TakeBackOurLives.org. Amazing. Take Back Our Lives is an organization dedicated to helping adults with social and developmental issues. It could be anything from adult ADHD, which, by the way, let's talk about that for just a second. 20 years ago, adult ADHD was barely a thing. And sometimes nobody even really cared. And now, 1 in 4 people report that they have symptoms, sometimes more severe than others, but symptoms of adult ADHD, to the point where it impacts their ability to perform their jobs. So whether it be that or adult depression, TakeBackOurLives.org is dedicated to bringing out the goodness in people and helping people come together to figure out why we are growing in our numbers of issues. I know we see it all the time. It's becoming more and more prevalent that people have very serious issues. Depression, adult ADHD, these are just pieces of a very large puzzle. So check them out. All right, back to the show. We are going to play a game. This is a fun game. We play this game all the time. I love this game. It's called Change the Letter Game. Change the Letter Game. Because keep in mind, we're talking about logic, and we're talking about emotion, and we're talking about politics. We're talking about upcoming candidates for presidency. So what we do is we play a game where we swap the D and the R by their names. This is a really fun game that we play. It's called Change the Letters. So, Biden stands up. He's talking gibberish. Democrats don't care. He does it every time, every speech. In fact, it is more of a surprise if he can get through a speech without saying something stupid. So, Democrats don't care. They don't care at all. I don't care. That's just old Joe. He's great. All right, let's play our game. Switch the letters. What if he had an R by his name instead of a D? Would all these Democrats be thinking the same thing? Look, don't change his policies. Don't change anything about him. He's still the exact same Joe Biden. But let's put an R by his name. Are all these Democrats thinking the same thing? Or are they all saying, well, it's just old Joe? Not a chance. Oh my. It drives me nuts. There's no way they would think that. No way. Because they would want him out of office. Remember the report that just came out? The report on Biden's classified documents. And we've talked about the classified documents. That's a non-logical conversation right there. Everybody's saying, oh, well, it's different for Biden. It's different for Biden. He can have classified documents because he readily gave them up. So it's different. This is what we hear. Oh, but Trump, he didn't want to give his up. So therefore, this is a completely different scenario. No. Actually, they are right. It is a different scenario. The classified document, and we've talked about this, and we'll talk about it more in depth in the future. We already have talked about it on the show. It is a completely different situation. The difference is that Biden never had any right to any classified documents because he was never president. So therefore, that's the big difference. You're comparing a vice president who has no right to classified documents in his home and a president who actually, you know what? Guess what? He can declassify documents. So, well, now keep in mind, let me be clear. I understand that whether or not he officially declassified these documents before putting them into his home, that's up for debate. I know that. Maybe he didn't officially declassify these documents, and so they never should have been in his home. I agree. But you're taking a situation and saying, it's completely different. You know, Biden gave it up immediately. Biden never should have had them. But a president's different because a president is the only person who has the ability to declassify documents. Okay, well, you're right. You're right. It is a different situation. Biden, he gave up classified docs. Yeah, absolutely. But he never should have had them in the first place. Anyway, I digress because we've talked about this before. I love the conversation because it's not even logical. It's not even, that whole conversation is. So let's go back to our game. Biden gets an R by his name. And going back. See, that's what I mean. See, sometimes I get off on these tangents. I don't even remember where I was talking about. Well, but I do. Okay. The report that came out about this classified document scandal, that investigation was done into Biden and whether or not he should have had these documents and what he did with them. And you know what they found? The report found that he has memory problems and that he doesn't remember much at all, actually. And the fact that he has a hard time forming two sentences. They don't even know if they can try him with anything because guess what? He's just an old man that doesn't know what he's doing. Doesn't remember anything, and they don't even know if they can get through that. In a court of law, the fact that he's just an old man that with memory problems. Okay, that's what the report said. That's not what I'm saying. That's what the report said. Okay, now back to our game. Let's put an R by Biden's name after that report came out. He would be out of office by now. He would. The Democrats would go nuts. They would go crazy. They would not stop until he's out of office. They would not stop. See our little fun game? Because our fun little game has everything to do with logic. Everything to do with logic. Because if that report came out about Trump, that he has memory problems, that he has problems forming sentences, guess what? They would never quit. The Democrats would never stop. They would want him out of office. They would. And you know, the sad thing is that they would have a lot of Republicans on their side too. You see, this whole politics thing is very difficult because logically, all you would have to do is change that letter. That one simple letter from a D to an R, and Democrats would never give up. The discussions that we would be having right now would be completely different. And you know this is true. The discussions we would be having right now would be, we need him out of office. But no, the discussions that we're having from Democrats is, he's fine. Have you seen that from Nancy Pelosi? The little, of course, let me be very clear. When I say Nancy Pelosi, what I truly mean is Nancy Pelosi's skeleton. So did you see that Nancy Pelosi's skeleton posted something? She, bless her heart, she said that, oh, Biden, he's very sharp. He's a very sharp man. See, I think that's great for Nancy Pelosi's skeleton to post that. But I've seen that from Kamala Harris, too. Kamala Harris, the opposite of logic, might I add. We love logic on this show, right? Kamala Harris, we call her the opposite of logic. If you could identify an opposite of logic, the exact opposite of logical, it would be Kamala Harris. Anyway, going back to Nancy Pelosi's skeleton. So Nancy Pelosi's skeleton is posting these videos of saying, oh, he's so sharp. He's such a smart president. Kamala Harris also posting, he's such a smart president. He's so sharp. Okay, you know why? You know how I know that Biden isn't as sharp as they are making him out to be? Do you know why I know that Biden is having problems with his cognitive abilities? Do you know how I know this? Because we're talking about it. That's how I know. We wouldn't be having this discussion. Do you think that they sit there and they say, oh, by the way, American Mike, he has cognitive decline. He has memory problems. You think anybody's ever had this discussion about me? No, because I don't show that. You see, Democrats are trying to make Biden look like he's all there and that he's just fine. Are they serious? They're forgetting one very, very important thing. We can see it. We can see it. You can't hide it. The man can't complete a sentence in a speech. He's reading a teleprompter. He can't even complete a sentence in a speech. We can see it. So, back to our fun little game. Let's put a R by President Biden's name. Those same people, Nancy Pelosi skeleton, as well as the Veep, Kamala Harris. And yes, I am referring to the television show because, oh my heck, you couldn't have. Kamala Harris, you couldn't have been a better. Kamala Harris is a better Julia Louis-Dreyfus than Julia Louis-Dreyfus is. So all of these videos are coming out from Nancy Pelosi skeleton as well as the Veep. And yet, if he had an R by his name, they would not stop until he was out of office. That's the only thing you would have to change. If it was the exact same Biden, exact same everything, exactly the same, you just take your little eraser and you erase the D and you write in an R, and they'd want him out of there. You see how See how fun that game is? We play this game a lot. We play this game a lot on this show because it is so much fun. Look, the fact is, we have a man running our country right now. It's not logical to have him running our country because I promise you, the man running our country right now would not be fit to manage a McDonald's restaurant. I promise you. And yet, here he is. And the only reason he is because he has that D by his name. I'll tell you something. One of the biggest problems with logic were making illogical decisions. It actually forms something that we see in our country every single day. And it all of these emotional decisions that are based on emotion and no logic involved, it creates hypocrisy. That's what we see from Nancy Pelosi's skeleton. When she's sitting there talking about how great Biden is. And when the media, MSNBC, is talking about how great Biden is, we know that if it was Trump, they'd be foaming at the mouth. We want him out of there. You see, it creates emotional decisions, creates hypocrisy also. And I'll tell you, you watch the media, and the media sits there and wonders why. And Nancy Pelosi's skeleton, she wonders why. Why don't people trust us? And I hear this from the media all the time. Why don't people trust us? It's because of hypocrisy. See, I feel like the media has never really fully grasped the concept of hypocrisy. When you're making emotional decisions that aren't based on logic, when logic becomes a problem to you, and then you start introducing hypocrisy, any form of hypocrisy is a loss of credibility. Quote me on that. You show hypocrisy, you lose credibility. That's why the media is having such a hard time right now. You start showing hypocrisy, you lose credibility. That's the problem with Nancy Pelosi's skeleton. If you show hypocrisy, you lose all credibility. I'll tell you, I wish somebody would put me in charge of MSNBC. Because did you see this? We just had the State of the Union, and Fox News. My goodness, more people watched the State of the Union from Fox News than all of the other media outlets combined. Did you know this? Everybody hates Democrats. I hate Fox News. They're such liars. No, they actually lie less. They show less credit. They show less hypocrisy. And therefore, they have more credibility. That's why. So anyway, I wish that I just could be the head of NBC News for 6 months. 6 months is all it would take to turn them around. 6 months. Just stop being so emotional. And stop being so, dare I say, crazy about Trump. Biden makes the worst decisions ever. He's not managing all these world wars correctly. And remember, even the Middle East is all in turmoil. Do you remember that Trump had the Middle East at the table and everybody signing peace agreements? That was Trump, by the way. He was awesome in the Middle East. He had everybody at the table signing peace agreements. In fact, he's been nominated. I'm not making this up. He's been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for it, for his dealings with the Middle East. Well, they're at war now. Does it have anything to do with Biden? Of course it does. Anyway. So all the media outlets wonder why no one watches them. The reason is because you show hypocrisy. And if I had 6 months, I could turn NBC and I could double MSNBC's ratings if I was in charge of them for 6 months. Double their ratings. Maybe even triple. I know it's crazy for me to say, but it's true. Any hypocrisy, you lose credibility. Now, for the remaining, I have such a hard time with the logic of Donald Trump's New York fraud trial. Now, we've talked about it on this program before. I have a really hard time with the logic of this. I mean, first and foremost, we have District Attorney Letitia James out there for years talking about how she's going to take down Trump. For years, she's talking about this. She doesn't know how. She's going to find a way. Oh, okay. Okay. So then she finds a way. And she finds a guy. Justice Arthur F. Engoron. Justice. Honestly, every time I hear Justice, I laugh because I understand that's her title and it's a great title. I love it. But I just think of Buford T. Justice. Those are my Smokey and the Bandit days. Jackie Gleason, by the way. So I just think of anytime I see Justice, I think of, and maybe Engoron reminds me of Buford T. Justice. I don't know. Anyway, let me get back to what we were talking about. This is a very odd case. There was no jury on account of it being it wasn't a criminal case. It was civil. They didn't want a jury. They couldn't have a jury. I don't think a jury would ever find anything, any kind of guilt with this. They needed a prosecutor, District Attorney Letitia James, and they needed a judge that would see guilt. Now, keep in mind, Justice Arthur F. Engoron, he made comments prior to this case about Trump's guilt, which right there should have had him removed from the case. I mean, come on. I don't know how we even as a society even allow that. I mean, anyway. So the justice wants him to pay over $500 million. $500 million. So to whom will he be paying this $500 million? To whom will Trump be paying this money? To the banks that he defrauded. Keep in mind, the whole case is because New York believes that Trump inflated his assets and values in order to get better deals on loans and things like that. Okay. All right. So he defrauded all of these banks. And and caused all of these banks all of this grief. So he's got to pay back the money. So to whom will he be paying this money? Of $500 million, might I add. To the banks? To the victims? No. See, no one was hurt in any of these deals. See, Trump is a very good businessman. He doesn't make deals and then just run away. He pays it. He makes good on his deals. And he did in every case. So who was hurt in this fraud case? No one. No one was hurt. Who lost money? No one. Everybody made money from these deals. No, he's not ordered to pay back any of the victims of his fraud. No. He's asked to pay the government? Am I reading that right? He has to pay the government? Why? What do you have to do with it? What do you have to do with any of this? No, he's paying the government. So let's break this down. Because honestly, this case is a bigger problem than we're actually seeing. The judge made a emotional decision, void of logic. Emotional because he hates Trump. I hate Trump. I hate him. So he decides that Trump's guilty in these cases of fraud. Okay. Now, first off, no jury. So therefore, there right there is a problem. He's not afforded basic rights as an American citizen. But they got around that so that one man makes the decision. One guy. Have you seen this guy? Sitting there smiling for the camera like it's his big shot in Hollywood? Have you seen this guy? I get so mad about this because I saw the one video of this guy taking off his glasses and smiling for the camera. I was like, who is this guy? Who is this judge? He's acting like this is his big break. And maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it is his big break. I don't know. But they wanted one man to be able to determine whether or not Trump was guilty. And one man determined how much he needs to pay the government. One man made that decision. Okay. So first off, he has never been innocent in this judge's mind, even from the beginning of the trial. So they get in there and they say, you defrauded everybody. You're a fraud. You wasted everybody's money. And the Trump attorney said, who did we wrong? And they said, well, no one. No one. So, what was this trial about? Was it about fraud? No, it wasn't about fraud. Yeah, a lot of people think it was. But guess what this was about? Not about fraud. It was about, and stick with me here. I know you're gonna think I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. See, we're friends here. This case was not about fraud. It was about brand recognition. It was. See, the judge didn't feel like Trump's name was worth a little bit of extra amount to make these deals happen. That's what Trump's attorneys argued. Well, the Trump brand is worth money. So, I mean, in the commercial real estate world, the Trump brand is brand name. The brand is worth money. The Trump name is worth money. So if we are valuing property a little bit more, that's because it's backed by the Trump name. The judge said no. Judge Justice Engoron decided that no, it's not worth any money. The Trump name isn't worth any money. So you can't add extra value to a property. Let me ask you this. Is a pair of sunglasses worth more money because of the name that's on it? Absolutely. And we're okay with that. Is a pair of our clothes or accessories or shoes worth more because of the name associated with them? Absolutely. See, this is what the Trump attorneys were arguing. Yes, the Trump name does add value. Is a piece of property worth more because of the name that's backed behind it? Yes. That's how the market works, folks. That's how it works. If you were to, let's say you made a movie, and it was just a regular old movie, and you had some no-name producer grab it and take it to the theaters. That's great. Good for you. Now let's say Ron Howard's Imagine Entertainment grabs it. Is it worth more in the theaters? Same exact movie, but different companies backing it. It's a completely different situation, completely different movie with a completely different valuation at that stage. And that's true. That's how our free market works. So what happened in this case is imagine, okay, this is a good way to put it. This is a really good way to put it. Imagine the state of New York suing Lululemon. You all know who Lululemon is. If you don't, go look them up. Imagine the state of New York suing Lululemon because they don't feel that a pair of women's leggings is worth $130. Interesting. So the judge says, no, these leggings are worth about $30, which is what happened in the Trump case. Because Justice Engoron said, oh, no, Mar-a-Lago, Trump's famous resort down in Florida, is only worth about $7 to $9 million. This is what he said. It's actually worth upwards of $40 million. But the judge said, oh, no, that property's actually worth this. So anything you valued toward that property was you added value because I, Justice Engoron, believe the value to be worth this. It's the exact same as if he said, hey, no, your $120 leggings, Lululemon. yeah, they're actually worth about $30. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make you pay the extra $100 per leggings that you've been selling. You have to pay that back. And they say, well, the people actually love their leggings and they don't mind paying that because it has the name and they're good clothes. It has the name. So we're going to, nobody cares that they've been paying $130 for these. So you're not going to be paying back the people that bought them because they're all happy. Just like the banks were all happy and testified on behalf of Trump. They tried to help him. All the banks were happy. So, instead of paying all of these people who are happy with their leggings, they're going to pay the government the difference. So Lululemon, you must pay the government the difference because nobody wants the money back. So for every pair of leggings you sold, we believe, me, the judge, believes that you devalued and overvalued what you were selling and overvalued your products and services. And so, therefore, you owe money back to the government. Doesn't this sound ludicrous? This is exactly what happened in the Trump case, though. You see? How insane are we that we're allowing this to happen? Judge Smiley Ingron made a dangerous call. Dangerous call. See, he hates Trump so much that he wants him to pay, that he made the decision to set the market value of Trump's properties from the bench. Do you know how dangerous that is? And we, the American people, are just sitting back and allowing this to happen. It's not constitutional. And honestly, if I was any, I never will be, but if I was ever in any position of power, if Smiley Ingron worked for me, I would have him removed from the bench. Because it is not constitutional for a judge to set market values of products and services from the bench. You can't. The market that's why we have a free market. Can you imagine if we move forward with the idea that judges can set market values? We lose our free market, people. We lose our ability to manage the market ourselves as Americans. This fraud case is so dangerous. Instead of the marketplace valuing Trump and valuing Trump's assets and the marketplace as a whole, remember, if the bank says it's worth that much, then it must be worth that much. If we allow judges to set valuation from the bench, we will lose our free market. Does that sound logical to you? It sure doesn't to me. I actually like our free market. I really do. I like the fact that we can charge whatever we want for products and services, and we can value whatever we want because the market drives it. If it doesn't work, then nobody will buy it. And no one will go for it. No one will value that. So we're okay. The free market drives itself. But I'm telling you right now, our free market is in jeopardy. Because if we continue to allow Smiley Ingron to value our products and services from the bench, we will lose our free market. This is all this is. Trump's valuation is based on the fact that the Trump brand does carry value. And Smiley Ingron can say nothing about that. He can say nothing about that. Trump's value has nothing to do with Smiley Ingron. Nothing. So we have to make sure that we are paying attention, because this case, I don't know why nobody's talking about it. We're all just kind of like, oh, shoot, Trump lost. Are you kidding me? Trump didn't just lose. America lost. America lost its ability for a free market. If that's the valuation of Trump, then that's the valuation of Trump, whether you like it or not. Let the market decide. Let the banks decide. Let the appraisals decide. Not Judge Smiley. Judge Smiley has nothing to do with anything. All right. We have crossed over the top of the hour. We're way over, but I really want you to listen to this. I want this to be the most important thing you listen to, because we can't lose who America. We can't lose what America is. Let's just put it that way. We can't lose what America is. It's free. And the more we use emotion, more than logic, then we will lose our freedoms. We've got to be smart, people. We have got to be smart. We have to wake up. Look at logic for what it is. Don't let logic become a problem to you. Don't let logic become a dilemma to you. Just because logic contradicts your emotions doesn't mean that logic is now a problem for you. It means change your emotions so that we can all make sense of what's going on. We cannot lose what America is. I love you all. You are the best audience ever. And you have been listening to The Logic Dilemma, the greatest show on the radio or on podcast. This is The Logic Dilemma. I am American Mike, signing off. Thank you.